Hello and welcome back to Bluebell Cottage. Now there's nothing quite like picking your own apples from your own tree. They just taste so much crisper and fresher than bought from the shops. Not only that, but you get this fabulous display of pink apple blossom in spring and all the buzz of insects as they rush around pollinating it. So this week we're going to be planting an apple tree and I'm going to show you how. So the first thing to do is choose your tree. Now obviously there's a very wide range of trees to choose from. And I've picked a lovely crisp dessert apple called Laxton Superb. I've chosen an open sunny site for it. So once you've decided where it's going, dig a hole for it, two times the width of the pot at least. And now I'm just going to check that the pot's at the right depth so that when we fill it in, the plant won't be sitting too high. I've had the root ball soaking in a bucket overnight to make sure that the root ball on it is nice and wet through. So let's get this plant out of its pot. One's come out reasonably easily, which is a good sign. And it's not too root bound either, too pot bound. But I will just tease a few of these roots out a little bit to encourage them to forage outwards instead of carrying on going round and round in circles. So we'll lift it into position and turn it to the angle you think looks best. And I'm fine with that. And now it's time to fill it in and plant it. Just keep an eye on the tree as you fill it in to make sure that the trunk's staying nice and straight. Fill the hole about halfway and then get your foot in, because this really does need to be planted in very firmly indeed. And then keep going until you get to the right level. So I'm just going to firm it in again, make sure it's really secure, still checking that it's upright, which it is more or less, perhaps leaning a little that way, but I think that's okay. But just for security, I'm also going to stake the tree because we want the roots to stay in place while it's getting itself established. There's two ways to stake a tree. You can either put a vertical stake in straight through the ground beside the tree, which is fine if you've bought a plant in midwinter which just has bare roots with no compost on, because you can slide the stake down between the roots. But when you've got a plant in a pot like this one was, if I push a stake right the way through, it'll go right through all those precious young roots. So I'm going to put an angled stake in that means I avoid breaking those roots. Which way to put the stake in? Well, the usual rule is to plant it so that the prevailing wind pushes the tree onto the stake. And here in Cheshire, and frankly in most parts of England, most of the wind comes from the west. So I'm going to push the stake in towards the northeast. So I think that's about right. That's in good and firm and about the right height. So I'm going to put the tree tie on next. Now there's lots of different tree ties around, and you may need to ask somebody how to put them on because it's not always that obvious. This one's got a grooved area which goes against the tree, and it stops the tree getting too hot and sticky underneath the plastic. So that bit goes around the tree. So we'll just thread that bit round through there. Not too tight, but so that the tree doesn't move too much. And then this piece goes around the stake through there and pull that one nice and tight. So just two jobs left to do: water it in and then put a nice thick coat of mulch around the top to stop weeds from germinating and to lock in all that moisture. Lots of things you can use: composted bark, compost off of your compost heap, anything will do. We use the council compost that they make out of what you leave in your green bins, and we've just found it's really wonderful stuff, so if you can get hold of some of that, use that. Pour it on, just keeping away from the tree. So that's it, job done. And if you look very closely, you can see on this branch here that there are some fat little buds. Now these are blossom buds, which will flower next year and produce me our first crop of apples next autumn. So with any luck, next year I'll be picking apples off of this tree and enjoying them just as much as this one. That's wonderful.